Invisible forces behind the scenes. Question 1. Did God create only visible things? Colossians chapter 1 verse 16. For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. Question 2. What superhuman beings does the Bible mention? Psalm 8 verse 5. For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. Question 3. Has anyone ever seen an angel? Numbers 22 verse 31. Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. Question 4. What type of angels were stationed at the entrance to the Garden of Eden when man was driven out? Genesis 3 verse 24. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. Angels are not the spirits of dead people, as some may suppose. No one had yet died when Adam and Eve were driven from Eden. The Bible speaks definitely of the existence of intelligent beings in the universe before the earth was created. You see Job 38 verses 4 and 7. Question 5. Are angels very strong? Psalm 103 verse 20. Bless the Lord, ye his angels, that excel in strength, that do his commandments, hearkening unto the voice of his word. Question 6. How swiftly do they move? Ezekiel 1 verse 14. And the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. Question 7. What have they been sent forth to do? Hebrews 1 verse 14. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation? Question 8. How might we meet an angel someday? Hebrews 13 verse 2. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. Question 9. How do angels protect God's people from danger? Psalm 34 verse 7. The angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him, and delivereth them. Here are a few stories of angels helping God's people in times of personal crisis. 1 Kings chapter 19 verses 1 to 8, Daniel chapter 6 verses 16 to 23, Acts chapter 5 verses 17 to 23, and Acts chapter 12 verses 5 to 11. Question 10. How will God protect his people through the calamities of the last days? Psalm 91 verse 11. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. Be not afraid of sudden fear, neither of the desolation of the wicked when it cometh. For the Lord shall be thy confidence, and shall keep thy foot from being taken. Proverbs 3 verses 25 and 26. Question 11. Are angels assigned even to children? Matthew 18 verse 10. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you, that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. Question 12. How does the Bible describe the loyalty of the angels to God? Psalm 103 verse 20. Bless the Lord, ye his angels, that excel in strength and do his commandments, hearkening unto the voice of his word. Question 13. God spared not the angels that did what? 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 4. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. Question 14. What is sin? 1 John chapter 3 verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. Question 15. Who is the leader of the rebellious angels? Revelation 12 verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Question 16. What was he called before he fell? Isaiah 14 verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nation? Question 17. What position did he hold in heaven? Ezekiel 28 verse 14. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth. In and I have set thee so. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Question 18. What was he like from the day he was created until iniquity was found in him? Ezekiel 28 verse 15. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created, till iniquity was found in thee. Question 19. In 3 words or less, what did Lucifer do that God cast him out and took away his position as covering cherub? Ezekiel 28 verse 16. By the multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Question 20. What sin did he first commit in his heart? Ezekiel 28 verse 17. Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee. Question 21. Whose position did he covet? Isaiah 14 verses 13 and 14. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Every one that exalteth himself shall be abased. He that humbleth himself shall be exalted. Luke chapter 18, verse 14. Question 22. This led to what in heaven? Revelation 12, verse 7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Question 23. What percentage of the angels, symbolically referred to as stars, joined Satan in his rebellion? Revelation 12, verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Question 24. Did their rebellion succeed? Revelation 12, verse 8. It prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. Question 25. What happened to Satan and his angels? Revelation 12, verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Question 26. They are now being reserved in what condition until the judgment of the great day? Jude 6. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. The Bible speaks of the fallen angels as unclean spirits, evil spirits and devils. Their work of darkness is limited to this world. For an illustration of their destructive work upon man and beast when restrained by the mighty angels of God, read Mark chapter 5 verses 1 to 13. Question 17. What is Satan doing now? 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Question 28. Why has he come to us now in great wrath? Revelation 12 verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Question 29. What shall we do to stand against him? Ephesians 6 verse 11. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6 verse 12. Question 30. What armor do we need? Ephesians 6 verse 14. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness. Loins girded with breastplate of verse 15. Feet shod with, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Verse 16. Shield above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Verse 17. Helmet of the sword, which is, to take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Question 31. In what 3 traps does Satan get people? 1 John 2 verse 16. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. Although Satan makes his offers appear enticing, his purpose is to destroy people. Job 1, verses 6 to 22, unveils the real conflict going on behind the scenes over each one of us. Question 32. What specific action must we take? James 4, verses 7 and 8. Submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Question 23. If we stay close to God, what promise may we claim when Satan bombards us? Isaiah 59, verse 19. So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. And question 34. How are the angels of God affected when we decide to place ourselves on God's side? Luke 15, verse 10. Likewise, I say unto you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner that repenteth. May God bless. And has crowned him with glory and honor. Question 3. Has anyone ever seen an angel? Numbers 22, verse 31. Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. Question 4. What type of angel? Invisible forces behind the scenes. Question 1. Did God create only visible things? Colossians chapter 1, verse 16. For by him were all things. Angels were stationed at the entrance to the Garden of Eden when man was driven out. Genesis 3, verse 24. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. Angels are not the spirits of dead people, as some may suppose, created, that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. Question 2. What superhuman beings does the Bible mention? Psalm 8, verse 5. For thou hast made him a little lower than the angel. No one had yet died when Adam and Eve were driven from Eden. The Bible speaks definitely of the existence of intelligent beings in the universe before the earth was created. You see Job 38, verses 4 and 7. Question 5. Are angels very strong? Psalm 103, verse 20. Bless the Lord, ye his angels, that excel in strength.